The neon lights of Orbital Station 7 cast a kaleidoscope of colors across Riker Shaw's workshop. The scent of machine oil and ozone hung in the air as he adjusted the microservos in a merchant's prosthetic hand. His own dark hands moved with practiced precision, each motion deliberate and focused. "There you go," he said, closing the access panel. "Should work better than new." The merchant flexed his mechanical fingers, wonder spreading across his weathered face. "Been to 6 different techs. None could fix it properly. What's your secret?" Riker shrugged, his broad shoulders stretching his worn jumpsuit. "No secret. Just patience and attention to detail." As the merchant left, Riker began cleaning his tools. The station's artificial day cycle was winding down, and he looked forward to closing up shop. That's when he heard it, a strange melodic sound, like wind chimes in a storm. Standing in his doorway was one of the most striking beings he'd ever seen. Her skin was the color of twilight, shifting between deep purple and midnight blue. Bioluminescent patterns rippled across her surface like northern lights. But what caught his professional eye were her prosthetic legs, clearly malfunctioning as they sparked and jerked. "Please," she said, her voice carrying that same musical quality. "I need help." I was about to close, but... Riker gestured to his workbench. "Come in. I'm Riker Shaw." "Naya," she replied, limping forward. Was a performer with the Stellar Symphony." The Stellar Symphony, the most prestigious zero-gravity dance troupe in the sector. They were known for combining alien bioluminescence with cutting-edge prosthetics to create breathtaking performances. "These are crystalline core models," Riker observed, scanning her legs. "High-end stuff." "What happened?" "Pirates," Naya said quietly. "They attacked our transport ship. The emergency pod's radiation shielding was damaged. It affected the prosthetic's quantum circuitry. Her luminescence dimmed. I've tried every repair shop in 3 sectors, but no one will touch crystalline tech without charging impossible fees." Riker studied the readouts. The damage was extensive, but not beyond repair. He'd worked on similar systems during his time in the engineering corps. "I can fix them," he said finally. "But it'll take time. Parts alone would normally cost." "I have nothing," Naya interrupted, her patterns flashing with distress. "The symphony, they replaced me. Said they couldn't wait for repairs." Riker looked at her, then at his workshop. Business was steady enough that he could afford to help. And something about her quiet dignity, the way she held herself despite everything, moved him. "Tell you what," he heard himself saying. "I'll fix them. No charge." Her patterns froze. "What?" "Pay me when you can. No interest, no pressure." He ran a hand through his close-cropped hair. "I've got a spare room upstairs. You can stay there while I work on the repairs." "Why would you help a stranger like this?" Riker began gathering his diagnostic tools. "Because sometimes people need a break. Because I've been on the receiving end of kindness before. And because," he smiled slightly, "I've always wanted to work on crystalline tech." Naya's patterns shifted to something warm and bright. "Thank you, Riker Shaw. I won't forget this." As he helped her to the spare room, neither realized that this chance encounter would change not only their lives but the future of human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. For on that small repair shop on Orbital Station 7, something unprecedented was beginning, a connection that would bridge the vast distances between stars and species alike. Dawn's cycle found Riker already at his workbench, surrounded by holographic schematics of crystalline prosthetics. He'd spent half the night studying their quantum architecture, fascinated by how they integrated with Naya's unique biology. The prosthetics weren't just mechanical replacements, they were extensions of her bioluminescent nervous system. "You're up early," Naya observed, gliding into the workshop on the hoverchair he'd provided. Her patterns shifted in what he was beginning to recognize as curiosity. Couldn't sleep, Riker admitted, manipulating a 3D model of her prosthetic's neural interface. These designs are incredible. The quantum resonance circuits actually synchronize with your bioluminescence patterns. You can understand crystalline tech. Her patterns rippled with surprise. Most human engineers won't even attempt it. Riker's dark eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. The principles aren't that different from human prosthetics. We just never thought to incorporate quantum harmonics. He projected a modified design. See here? If we realign the resonance matrix, we could actually improve your neural response time by 30%. Naya moved closer, her twilight skin casting shifting patterns across the hologram. You would modify crystalline technology? That's unprecedented. Unless you'd rather I didn't? Riker paused, suddenly aware he might be overstepping. No, it's... Her patterns formed complex geometries he couldn't interpret. Among my people, to modify another's prosthetics is deeply personal. Like choreographing a dance specifically for someone. Oh. Riker felt heat rise in his cheeks. I didn't mean to. I trust you, Naya interrupted, her patterns pulsing steadily. You've shown more kindness than anyone since the attack. Show me what you're thinking. Over the next hours, they worked together, Riker explaining his modifications while Naya shared insights about her species' unique physiology. He learned that her people, the Lumini, had evolved their bioluminescence as a form of emotional and artistic expression. The patterns weren't just beautiful, they were a language of their own. So these swirls here, he gestured to her current display, what do they mean? Naya's patterns shifted to deeper hues. Interest. Appreciation. Perhaps something more. Their eyes met, and Riker felt something electric pass between them. He cleared his throat, turning back to his work. The quantum circuits are almost ready for testing. We should be able to attempt a neural sync tomorrow. You're nervous, she observed. Your heart rate increased by 12%. You can sense that? Lumini are sensitive to bioelectrical fields. It helps us dance in perfect harmony. She hesitated. Your field, it's different from any I've encountered. Stronger. More dynamic. Riker's hands stilled on his tools. Is that good or bad? It's fascinating, she replied, her patterns forming intricate fractals. You humans are always surprising us. Most species fear what they don't understand, but you embrace it. Study it. Try to improve it. That's how we survived on Earth, Riker said, making a final adjustment. Nature didn't give us bioluminescence or quantum sensitivity. So we built our own ways to navigate the darkness. To connect. To create. And now you're helping me do the same. Naya's patterns shifted to a warm, steady glow. Perhaps that's why I feel so. She trailed off, her patterns becoming more complex. Feel what? Connected, she finished softly. Despite our differences, despite everything that's happened, I feel safe here. With you. Riker looked up, struck by the vulnerability in her voice. In the artificial twilight of his workshop, her bioluminescence painted everything in gentle, shifting colors. He realized he'd grown accustomed to her patterns, could almost read the emotions behind them now. I'm glad, he said finally. Because I think these modifications are going to need a lot of fine-tuning. If you're willing to stay a while longer. Naya's patterns bloomed with what he now recognized as joy. I would like that very much, Riker Shaw. As they continued working, the boundary between engineer and client, human and alien, began to blur. Something new was taking its place, something neither of them had words for yet, but both could feel growing stronger with each passing moment. The moment of truth had arrived. After 2 weeks of modifications and calibrations, Riker stood before Naya, holding her newly upgraded prosthetics. The quantum circuits hummed with potential, their crystalline components refracting the workshop's lights. "Ready?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite his racing heart. Naya's patterns swirled with anticipation as she sat on the workbench. "I trust you, Riker." He carefully attached the prosthetics, watching as the quantum resonance circuits synchronized with her bioluminescent nervous system. The integration was seamless, better than he'd dared hope. Naya's patterns flared brilliantly as the neural connection established. "Try to stand," he suggested, staying close in case she needed support. Naya slid off the workbench, and for the first time since entering his shop, she stood on her own. Her first steps were hesitant, but quickly grew more confident. The prosthetics responded perfectly, matching her natural grace. "They feel." She executed a small spin, her patterns blazing with joy. "They feel like part of me. Even better than before." She moved through a series of increasingly complex dance positions, testing the limits of the modifications. Riker watched in amazement as she began to dance in earnest. Her movements were unlike anything he'd seen, a perfect blend of human technical precision and Lamini fluidity. Her bioluminescence created trails of light that lingered in the air, painting three-dimensional patterns in the space around her. "The quantum harmonics are actually amplifying your bioluminescent expression," he observed, checking his diagnostics. "I didn't expect." His words cut off as Naya grabbed his hands, pulling him into her dance. "Join me," she said, her patterns forming intricate, inviting geometries. "I don't dance," he protested, but found himself moving with her anyway. "Especially not like this." "Everyone dances," she corrected, guiding his movements. "Humans just forget how. Feel the rhythm of your own bioelectric field. Let it harmonize with mine." To his surprise, Riker found he could sense what she meant. The quantum circuits in her prosthetics created a subtle field that resonated with his own natural electricity. As they moved together, he felt the boundary between them blur, engineer and dancer, human and Lamini, technology and biology all merging into something entirely new. "This is incredible," he breathed, as they spun through the workshop. "I can almost see your patterns." "Because you're part of them now," Naya explained, her voice musical with excitement. "The modifications you made, they're not just improving my dance. They're creating a bridge between our species." Their dance grew more intimate as they explored this new connection. Riker found himself responding to subtle shifts in her patterns before she even moved, while Naya matched her bioluminescence to his heartbeat. The workshop filled with swirling lights that responded to their combined movements. Finally, breathless, they came to a stop. Naya's patterns pulsed in time with both their racing hearts, and Riker realized he was still holding her close. "I've never experienced anything like that," she whispered. "No one has. What you've created here." "What we've created," he corrected. "I couldn't have done it without your trust, your willingness to try something new." Her patterns shifted to deep, warm colors he'd never seen before. The Stellar Symphony would never attempt something so revolutionary. They're too bound by tradition, by what they think is possible. "What will you do now?" Riker asked, suddenly aware that with her prosthetics repaired, she had no reason to stay. Naya's patterns formed complex, thoughtful geometries. I think it's time to create something new. These modifications, they open up possibilities no one has explored. If you're willing." She hesitated. "If you're willing to continue working with me, we could develop an entirely new form of performance. One that truly bridges our species." Riker felt his heart leap at the suggestion. "You mean combine human engineering with Lamini dance? Create new ways for our peoples to connect?" "Yes," she said, her patterns brightening. "But more than that. I want to show the galaxy what's possible when we stop letting our differences define us." When we trust enough to create something beautiful together. He looked around his small workshop, thinking of the implications. It would mean completely changing his business, taking a huge risk. But then he looked at Naya, at the way her pattern seemed to reach out to him, and knew his answer. "When do we start?" he asked. Her response was to pull him into another dance, this one slower, more deliberate. As they moved together, their merged bioelectric fields creating new patterns of light around them, Riker realized that some decisions changed not just lives, but worlds. And this, he was certain, was one of them. The warning sirens shattered the peace of Orbital Station 7. Riker and Naya were in the midst of a rehearsal when the station's AI announced, "Critical radiation surge detected. All citizens proceed to shielded areas immediately." "The quantum shielding's failing," Riker muttered, checking his diagnostics. His face paled at the readings. "This is bad. The radiation could destabilize your prosthetics' quantum circuits." Naya's patterns flickered with concern. "We need to reach the emergency bunkers." They rushed toward the station's core, but halfway there, Naya stumbled. Her prosthetics began to spark and twitch as the radiation interfered with their delicate quantum harmonics. "The circuits are destabilizing," she gasped, her patterns dimming. "Riker, I can't." He caught her before she fell. "I've got you. But we need to stabilize those circuits now." Looking around frantically, he spotted his old workshop storage unit. In there. The small room was lined with electromagnetic shielding, not enough to protect them indefinitely, but it would buy them time. Riker laid Naya on his workbench, quickly connecting diagnostic tools to her failing prosthetics. "The quantum resonance is collapsing," he explained, hands flying over his tools. "If it fails completely, the neural feedback could," he stopped, unwilling to finish the thought. "Could kill me," Naya finished, her patterns growing weaker. "I know." Riker refused to accept that outcome. He'd spent his life solving impossible technical problems. He wasn't about to lose her now. "The radiation's disrupting the quantum field," he thought aloud. "But if we could reverse the polarity, use your bioluminescence as a power source." His eyes widened. "Naya, I need you to trust me one more time." "Always," she whispered, her patterns barely visible now. Working with desperate speed, Riker began modifying her prosthetics' quantum circuits. It was a wild theory, using her own bioluminescent energy to create a protective quantum bubble. The physics were sound, but no one had ever attempted anything like it. "This might hurt," he warned, making the final connections. "Do it." He activated the modified circuits. Naya's back arched as energy coursed through her nervous system. Her patterns exploded in a brilliant display, filling the room with light. The quantum harmonics hummed at a frequency that made Riker's teeth vibrate. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, her patterns stabilized. The quantum readings settled into a new configuration, one that shouldn't have been possible according to everything Riker knew about physics. "What did you do?" Naya asked, sitting up slowly. "I reversed the quantum flow," he explained, still amazed it had worked. "Instead of your bioluminescence powering the prosthetics are now amplifying your natural energy field. You're generating your own quantum shield." She examined her legs with wonder. The prosthetics now pulsed with the same patterns as her skin, as if they truly were part of her body. "You've done the impossible again." "We did it together," he corrected, helping her stand. "Your biology, my engineering. Like everything else we've created." The station's siren still blared, but Naya's quantum shield held steady. In fact, it was growing stronger, creating a protective bubble that extended several feet around them. "We need to get to the station's core," Riker said suddenly. "Your quantum shield, if we could adapt it to protect the station's main systems." Naya's patterns brightened with understanding. "We could save everyone." They moved through the radiation-flooded corridors, Naya's shield protecting them both. Other residents, trapped in partially shielded areas, stared in wonder at the impossible sight, a human and a Lumini, surrounded by swirling quantum energy, moving as one through the crisis. As they worked to adapt Naya's shield to the station's systems, Riker realized that this crisis had proven something profound. Their partnership wasn't just about art or technology anymore. Together, they could reshape the very laws of physics. And if they could do that, what else might be possible? News of the orbital station 7 incident spread rapidly across the galaxy. The holovids went viral, a human engineer and Lumini dancer, using impossible quantum harmonics to save thousands of lives. But it was their first public performance a month later that truly changed everything. The station's largest cargo bay had been converted into a temporary theater. Representatives from a dozen species filled the space, drawn by rumors of something unprecedented. When the lights dimmed, Riker and Naya took the stage. They began separate, Riker demonstrating the precision of human engineering, Naya the fluid grace of Lumini dance. Then, as their quantum fields synchronized, the boundaries between them blurred. Naya's bioluminescence expanded, forming complex three-dimensional patterns that Riker's modifications transformed into solid light constructs. They danced through these crystalline sculptures, reshaping reality with each movement. The audience watched in stunned silence as human and alien moved in perfect harmony, their combined energy creating art that defied physics. When they finished, the applause was thunderous. The Galactic Cultural Council has a proposition, an elegant Centaurian representative approached them afterward. We want to establish an interspecies performance institute, with you two as its founders. Your work, it proves that true collaboration between species is possible. Riker looked at Naya, whose patterns swirled with excitement. What do you think? I think, she said, her patterns forming the warm, complex geometries he now knew meant love, that this is just the beginning. 6 months later, their institute housed students from 20 different species. Riker's workshop had expanded into a full research facility, where engineers and artists worked together to push the boundaries of what was possible. But the real breakthrough came in an unexpected way. The quantum harmonics we developed, Riker explained to a gathered crowd, don't just allow for artistic expression. They create genuine empathic connections between species. When we dance, when we create together, we literally share consciousness for a moment. Diplomats began studying their techniques. Trade negotiations were transformed when species could truly understand each other's perspectives. Cultural exchanges flourished as art became a universal language. In their private moments, Riker and Naya still marveled at how far they'd come from that first night in his workshop. Did you ever imagine, she asked, her patterns dancing across his skin as they rehearsed a new piece, that fixing my prosthetics would lead to all this? No, he admitted, guiding her through a complex sequence they designed together. But I knew from the moment you walked into my shop that something extraordinary was possible. Their quantum fields merged, creating a display of light and energy that represented something profound, not just the union of two individuals, but a glimpse of humanity's true potential. In reaching across the stars to help one alien dancer, Riker had helped forge a path to a future where the boundaries between species were just another limit waiting to be transcended. And as they danced among the stars, their combined light visible from ships passing in the dark, they proved that the greatest innovations come not from technology alone, but from the courage to trust, to connect, and to imagine something new into being.